Alrighty, students, check this out. I'm just on the, I'm actually recording something, so students, we are looking at the order of operations with integers, which is extremely important. I typically remember the order of operations based on this acronym here, and you'll see that I have, let me see here, I have P. That's number one. That means parentheses. And then E, we have exponents. And then multiplication and division. I typically take that as 3. And then addition and subtraction, I take that as 4. So I say addition and subtraction. Okay. And then the L and the R is to perform these things left to right. So if you're inside of the parentheses, you do it from left to right, okay? And then you just apply this iteration again. If you go inside of a grouping, then you want to start inside of that grouping. And then if you have another grouping inside of that grouping, you go into that grouping, okay? So you just keep applying the PEMDAS. I call it PEMDASler or something now, but please excuse my dear Aunt Sally's last remark. That's how I look at it. Even exponents, if you only have exponents, you go from left to right, and then the same with multiplication and division and addition and subtraction. Very important. If you go from right to left, you can end up with the wrong or incorrect answer. So let's look at this first problem. The first problem states that we have 3 plus a negative 7. The order of operations is what? What is the order of operations? Well, if you see that 3, that's 3 plus 1 times a negative 7. So we're going to go ahead and deal with the 1 times a negative 7. And so we don't do any addition yet. We need to resolve our negative 7 here. And so it's going to end up being, so you have a plus 1 and a negative 7. And I wrote this plus too quick. And so what you do is you say 1 times a negative 7, or a positive 1 times a negative 7, that's going to give you a negative 7, or minus 7. So you have 3 minus 7, we just know that that's a negative 4, okay? So that's how you treat that. Let's go to another one. So we have a negative 6, and then we have minus 17. So the first thing we want to treat is multiplication, just like we did last time. So basically we have plus a negative 1 times a negative 17. Now what did I just do there? I just took the negative sign right here and I multiplied it by 1, or I brought the 1 out that's actually there. And so plus, or a positive number times a negative number would give us that negative sign again. So to resolve this, we'll have a negative 6 plus a negative 1 times a negative 17 at 17. And now we can just add them like normal. So 17 minus 6, that's going to be 11. Okay. The very next problem is a negative 4 times a negative 17. Negative times a negative, positive. So all I have to do is just do 17 times 4. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 1 is 4. Plus 2 is 6. So we end up with 68. Okay. And let's see. The next one is the following one. Let me see. We have a negative 60 divided by 2 plus 2. And we have a grouping in the numerator. And then we divide this by the denominator. So what's taking place in the groupings, those are the things you do first, because that's the P inside of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You need to go to the restroom. Okay. So notice that we have multiplication and division first. So we have a negative 60 divided by 2, which is just going to be a negative 30. Plus 2, so that's still in that grouping. And then in the bottom, we have 12 minus 8. That's just going to be 4. So notice we're staying in our parentheses. Now we have a negative 30 plus 2. That's going to be a negative 28 divided by 4. So now we know 4 goes into 28 7 times, so the result is a negative 7. So this is how you treat it. You go, please, and that was the parentheses, and then you have excuse, which we don't have anything, but multiplication and division, that would go next. So we have 1 here, and then our next step was multiplication and division. We did that at this point, and then we had to go back to our parentheses, which was here, and once we did that, we applied our multiplication and division again here. All right. I hope this helps you guys out.